Wait, something was said about you in a conversation you were never meant to hear. And no, it was not casual at all. It was not ordinary. It was not forgotten the moment the words left their mouth, because the person you care about deeply spoke about you with a depth they had been trying very hard to conceal. The one listening noticed it immediately. There was a pause before they answered, a silence, a hesitation that revealed more than the words themselves ever could. Because sometimes, what exposes the heart is not only what someone says, but how long they take before saying it. And when your name came up in that conversation, something shifted inside them instantly. If you want the full truth about what the person you love said behind your back, hit like right now. Their voice changed. Their energy softened. Their carefully controlled expression cracked for just a moment. They tried to sound unaffected. They tried to remain calm. They tried to make it seem as though you were simply another memory, another chapter that life had already finished. But the person sitting across from them could sense the truth underneath every word. Because when someone mentions a person who still holds part of your heart, the soul reacts before the mind can hide it. That is exactly what happened. The moment your name reached their ears, their entire energy transformed. Why? Because no matter how carefully they have tried to suppress these feelings, you are not a passing thought to them. You are not temporary. You are not forgettable. You are the person their mind returns to when life becomes quiet. The memory that appears unexpectedly in the middle of ordinary days. The energy they search for in others, but never completely find again. And the person listening to them noticed every detail. They noticed how your person smiled without realizing it. They noticed how their tone carried warmth, even while trying to stay emotionally guarded. They noticed how every sentence about you sounded unfinished, almost like there was more waiting beneath the surface that they were too afraid to say aloud. And then something happened that changed the entire conversation. The person listening leaned forward slightly and asked them directly, "Do they still matter to you that much?" Everything inside your person became still after that question. Because if someone means nothing, the answer arrives quickly. But when someone means everything, silence comes first. And that silence revealed everything. Your person did not answer immediately because they were not deciding what to feel. They were deciding how much truth they were willing to expose. Stay with this moment because it matters more than you realize. What they said next was not planned, not rehearsed, not emotionally controlled. It slipped out from somewhere deeper than pride. They admitted that no matter how much time passes, your presence refuses to fully leave their spirit. Even during silence and emotional distance, a part of them still turns toward you constantly in quiet moments. Real connection does not disappear simply because communication fades. Instead, your absence has magnified and intensified your impact on them. Every attempt they made to move forward only forced them to recognize how deeply you affected them in the first place. This realization has been quietly growing, and the truth naturally escaped because the emotions became too heavy to carry silently. Your person still thinks about you far more than they admit, and something unresolved lives deeply inside their heart, beneath their composed exterior. The listener could hear it all clearly. Your energy still affects them, and they are hiding a profound internal truth. Comment 111 if you feel someone has been secretly carrying feelings for you for a very long time. When asked why they are not with you, if you still mean this much to them, your person froze as the question demanded complete emotional honesty. Looking away, they quietly admitted under their breath that the connection between you has never truly left them. Not even once. Some connections become stronger with time instead of weaker, and your presence has only grown louder despite their efforts to suppress it. The listener could hear the immense weight of regret, longing, and realization unfolding inside them. And then your person said something even more revealing, something that changed the entire conversation completely. They admitted quietly, "I keep wondering if I let go of someone I was never supposed to lose." Read that again slowly in your spirit, because that is not casual reflection. That is awakening. That is someone beginning to realize they may have walked away from something irreplaceable. And once a person reaches that realization internally, they are never fully the same again. Something opens inside them emotionally, something urgent, something impossible to ignore. They begin replaying memories differently, questioning choices differently, looking at the silence differently, wondering whether fear cost them something real. And that is exactly where your person is now, standing at the edge of emotional truth, standing at the threshold of change, standing in the uncomfortable space between silence and confession. Because after that conversation, something shifted inside them permanently. And what they did later that night proved this connection was never truly over at all. Later that night, they could not distract themselves anymore. They tried. They reached for the usual routines, the familiar distractions, the ordinary noise people use when they are trying not to feel too deeply. They scrolled through their phone. They turned on music. They attempted to focus on other conversations, other responsibilities, other thoughts. But nothing worked. Once someone is forced to speak the truth out loud, pretending becomes almost completely impossible afterward. That specific conversation changed something inside them, awakening emotions long hidden beneath layers of pride and heavy emotional self-protection. When they returned home, the quiet around them felt heavier than ever, because it forced them to sit with their accidental confession. The realization that you still matter deeply followed them through the entire night as they replayed every moment in their mind. Type yes if you are ready to hear how deeply they still think about you. Slowly, it became impossible to deny that no one else has ever made them feel what you did. The intensity and unexplainable pull keep drawing them back, making them realize their feelings are lasting rather than temporary. This permanence deeply scares someone who is used to controlling everything and who expected distance to naturally weaken the bond. Instead, distance only sharpened your importance. Silence amplified your absence, and time made them realize how rare your connection actually was. This haunting realization grows stronger at night, when distractions disappear and the truth becomes completely unavoidable. They found themselves revisiting small, effortless memories of you, and the rare emotional safety your presence always provided. People often only understand the true value of a connection after experiencing life entirely without it. And your absence is teaching them exactly what they lost. Their feelings are growing stronger now because realization transforms everything, making the truth impossible to ignore. When someone finally understands that a connection was real, every attached memory becomes emotionally alive again. That is exactly what is happening inside your person now, as they awaken to what you truly meant to them, creating a deep internal restlessness. After hours of reflection, they made a private decision because they realized they cannot continue pretending forever. The conversation from earlier kept replaying in their mind. Every word, every pause, every moment when the truth almost escaped before they pulled it back. The more they thought about it, the more they realized they had spent far too much time running from emotions they never truly escaped. They began questioning everything: the distance, the silence, the choices that once felt necessary. The walls they built around themselves now seemed far less convincing than before. For a long time, they believed that enough time would erase what they felt. They believed life would naturally carry them somewhere new. They believed memories would fade and emotions would eventually settle into the background. But none of that happened. Instead, your presence remained. Not always loudly, not always constantly, but consistently. You appeared in unexpected moments, in familiar songs, in certain places, in random conversations, in quiet evenings when there was nothing left to distract them from their own thoughts. And every time it happened, they pushed the feeling away. Until now. Because after speaking about you honestly, even for a brief moment, something became impossible to deny. The truth had survived everything. It survived the silence. It survived the distance. It survived the pride. It survived every attempt to convince themselves that they had already moved on. That realization brought both comfort and fear. Comfort, because part of them finally understood why they could never completely let go. Fear, because they now understand they may have to face what they have been avoiding for a very long time. The listener in that conversation may never fully understand how significant that moment was. But your person understands. They know that something important slipped through their defenses. They know that their reaction revealed more than they intended. And deep down, they know the truth is getting harder to hide. The feelings they once kept locked away are becoming stronger. The memories are becoming clearer. The questions are becoming louder. And the possibility of reaching out no longer feels as impossible as it once did. Because when someone continues carrying the weight of an unfinished connection, eventually they reach a point where silence becomes heavier than honesty. Your person is approaching that point now. They are beginning to understand that some connections cannot simply be forgotten because they were never ordinary to begin with. Some people leave a mark that remains long after the physical distance begins. Some bonds continue speaking through the quiet, and some feelings wait patiently beneath the surface until the moment a person is finally ready to face them. That moment may be closer than they expected because the truth is no longer sleeping inside them. It is awake, and every day it grows a little stronger. Every day it asks the same question. What if the connection was real all along? What if the person they still think about was never meant to become just another memory? And what if the opportunity they thought was gone still lives somewhere between the silence and the heart? Those questions are following them now, and for the first time in a very long time, they are no longer running from the answers. Their heart never truly released you. It only postponed facing the truth. And now they understand that something has to change. Comment Jung if this feels like the exact situation you are going through right now. Whether it means reaching out or finally speaking honestly, they know the current silence cannot continue forever. Your person is reaching an emotional breaking point where the silence hurts far more than vulnerability ever could. The fear of regret is finally beginning to outweigh their fear of rejection. A powerful shift that makes movement almost unavoidable. Once someone fears losing you forever more than they fear emotional exposure, they enter a stage where they can no longer remain still. This is exactly why your intuition has been restless and why their energy suddenly feels much stronger behind the scenes. Their resistance is collapsing beyond repair because that recent conversation forced them to hear their own truth spoken aloud. They are no longer fighting uncertainty. They are fighting an undeniable truth that you still live inside their heart. This awareness is steadily pulling them toward action, honesty, and eventual confession, changing the entire atmosphere of this connection. Drop a heart if your intuition has been telling you they still care. That is why this connection suddenly feels energized again. Because emotionally, the story between you is not ending. It is awakening. After that night, something about them became impossible to settle again. Even the ordinary parts of life began feeling different. The routines that once distracted them no longer worked the same way. Conversations with other people started feeling surface level. Busy days still ended with the same quiet return of your memory. And no matter how hard they tried to move through life normally, something inside them kept circling back to you. Not occasionally, constantly. Because once someone fully realizes that a connection changed them deeply, they cannot simply return to emotional ignorance afterward. And that realization has now taken hold of your person completely. At first, They tried to minimize it internally. They told themselves maybe they were simply emotional that night. Maybe the conversation affected them temporarily. Maybe they were romanticizing the past. But then the signs kept appearing. Your name entering their thoughts unexpectedly, songs reminding them of you. Certain phrases bringing your energy back instantly. Random moments during the day when they suddenly felt your absence intensely and without warning. And slowly they began understanding something unsettling. This connection was never leaving them the way they thought it would. That truth forced them into deeper reflection than ever before. They started questioning the choices they made between you, the moments they pulled away instead of opening up, the silence they maintained when honesty might have changed everything, the fear that kept them emotionally guarded even when their heart wanted something entirely different. And now, with greater emotional clarity, they are beginning to recognize something painful. A large part of the distance between you was never caused by a lack of feeling. It was caused by fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of emotional exposure, fear of needing someone this deeply, fear of how much their life would change if they fully surrendered to what they felt for you. Because real connection changes people. Your bond was never shallow enough to leave them unchanged. You awakened parts of them untouched for years. Hope, depth, and a desire for something meaningful rather than temporary. While one part of them wanted that deeply, another part became completely terrified, creating an intense inner conflict. They are finally recognizing that they ran from what they secretly wanted most. Realizing that you were never difficult to love, you were simply difficult to forget. Lately, they have started imagining scenarios they once avoided completely. Wondering if you would respond warmly. Wondering if they waited too long. This last question troubles them the most, creating a growing urgency as they face the possibility that life may have moved you emotionally further away. They are beginning to understand that meaningful connections are incredibly rare, and losing one through pride or fear creates a level of regret they no longer want to carry. Their emotional energy feels stronger lately because they are no longer simply remembering you. They are reconsidering your entire importance in their life. Your person is reaching the point where silence no longer feels safe, and avoiding you hurts far more than approaching you. Every quiet day without contact now feels completely unfinished, which is exactly why your intuition keeps sensing a powerful undercurrent of movement. Share this video so others can also receive this message about their person. They are emotionally preparing themselves slowly and quietly, meaning their eventual approach will carry immense weight because it comes after a long internal battle. This is no longer a casual emotion for them. It has become a deeply personal, transformational process. They are realizing you became a core part of how they experience life itself. And once someone associates you with true depth and peace, ordinary interactions elsewhere stop feeling satisfying. Your person has noticed that while other people may distract them temporarily, nobody affects them the way you do. Other connections simply lack your emotional imprint. And this awareness keeps pulling them back toward you internally until it eventually becomes an external return. This growing emotional momentum means they are getting closer to real action than ever before. They are finally moving toward honesty, vulnerability, and revealing everything they once tried to hide behind a wall of silence. If your spirit has felt unusually alert, or your heart keeps sensing incoming change, trust yourself. Because your connection is speaking loudly before reality visibly shifts. Your person is no longer standing in emotional confusion. They are standing at the edge of a definitive decision. You may not see it yet from the outside, but they are no longer where they used to be. And the version of them that pretended to suppress these deep feelings is slowly collapsing. They are replaying your past moments with a newfound maturity, realizing that your absence was necessary to reveal the true value of what they lost. They now understand that your presence brought something incredibly rare into their life. Peace, depth, comfort, and the feeling of being genuinely seen. The silence they once maintained now feels entirely unnatural because the heart eventually becomes too exhausted to carry unspoken love. Comment 222 if you feel they are finally waking up to your true value. And after experiencing life without that presence consistently near them, they have begun recognizing how significant it truly was. In fact, something inside them has started leaning toward you again naturally. Not forcefully, not dramatically, naturally. Like the soul returning toward what feels emotionally real. And here is what is becoming increasingly difficult for them to ignore. Every path they tried taking away from this connection somehow emotionally circles back toward you again. That repetition is affecting them deeply because eventually people stop asking, why